Just like I started talking about before, we never want to cross-contaminate. So now while I have the ability, still using the clean cutting board, and while I was working with vegetables, we're going to start working on the Tuscan grilled vegetables. So I'm going to bring a couple over, and I think it's important when people are doing vegetables for grilling that you don't overdo it. It's very, very easy. I take off the top, I take off the bottom on these beautiful summer squash, and I'm cutting them once again, a 1/4 inch thick. So, very simple straight cuts, and try to keep your cuts straight, because when your cuts are straight and you're grilling, that means that everything is going to cook in the same amount of time because they're all the same thickness, so everything comes out the same. Peppers, I have a beautiful red bell pepper. All I'm doing is cutting 4 pieces off, a regular square. And if you can't really tell from the camera angle, you can see exactly what I did by looking at this final piece. And that's what I'm using for the grilling. So I have some here that's already cut. And this is going to give you an example of the variety of vegetables and items that we'll be using. We've got some beautiful summer squash, some red bell peppers. We've got some great looking courgettes, or I should say zucchini. In the United States they call them zucchini. The rest of the world they're called courgettes. I have some beautiful green onions. I have some Kennett square mushrooms, mushroom capital of the world, and we're lucky to be here in Pennsylvania, very close to them. And here, what I love to add for flavor and what kind of gives it that Tuscan piece is this is fresh fennel or anise. It has a natural licorice flavor, and to me, it's a great substitute for grilling, doing items that represent where you want something crunchy or some different flavor, as opposed to using celery. So it's just a great item to add to this. Okay, now that we have all these great items that I have here on the cutting board, this is the part where you get to impress the girls, guys, and it's simple, once again. All you're doing is taking these items, you're going to put them all into a bowl. Part of the reason why I use nice big cuts, so that it's going to look great when we finish grilling. They're going to keep and maintain their integrity and all the flavors that they have. When you cut things too small and you grill them, they tend to get burned, they're harder to deal with, harder to work with. And look here, this is simple. Everything goes in the bowl. I'm putting a generous amount of salt and pepper. I'd say about a half teaspoon or a teaspoon for the amount that I have here. And then the only thing I'm doing is adding, once again, that favorite vinaigrette that you're making, okay, or in our house, Zachary's sweet basil vinaigrette. And for the amount of vegetables I just did, I added about a half cup. That half cup of that half cup of vinaigrette, just mix it together, just gently toss. And all I'm trying to do is just make sure that the salt, the pepper, the vinaigrette, and all the items are combined. You can see where they're all coated. And if you see some that aren't, you just kind of take your thumb and rub it on there. And that's going to do 2 things. These things are going to be sitting in the bowl getting nice and happy. And while they're getting happy, they're taking on some of these flavors. And the vinaigrette, the oil in the vinaigrette, is also going to help to provide those beautiful grill marks and flavor and keep it from sticking when we go down the grill. And when I'm doing my veggies, I take the items that take the longest to cook first. So those fresh Kennett square buttons, I'm throwing them on early. They take time to get really done inside. After that, I'm putting on some of my thicker items and my heavier items like my fresh fennel. And notice my placement. When you hear me talk about lining it up and lining the food up right, notice I'm very deliberate about where I'm putting it and how it sits on the grill. And that's part of how I achieve some of the flavors that happens during cooking and some of the flavor that occurs because as it's in the hot zone, eventually I'll get that great grill flavor and searing on the outside, and then I'll move it to a cool zone for it to finish. So it has a slight bit of crunch and it's soft in the proper texture that I'm looking for. Next items are my squashes. Then I'll go with some zucchini or courgettes. Notice I'm going back in that hot zone where I was cooking my hamburgers and my chicken. And my roasted peppers, they're going to sit happy just about anywhere I put them on the grill. And our green onions, which I don't know if you've really ever enjoyed an onion, but you would if you were to take it and grill them like this. Just get a couple little marks on them and done. A couple char marks. Right now we're talking about the after. Now, a couple things are going to happen. First, I'm getting my vegetables off because I don't want them to overcook. I want them to maintain their integrity. So, I'm pulling these the courgettes, the summer squash. My green onions I already have off, and I like laying them on top, so I'm sitting my grilled vegetables right here. Beautiful, beautiful. Grilled veggies. I've got my scallions, and we're going to drop some mushrooms right in this spot right here. And they do have gorgeous grill marks.